Good evening, everyone. My name is Manoj. We're talking about logical reasoning section right now. Good evening, everyone. Can I have a quick reply whether I'm audible or not with everyone? Yes, wonderful. Great. Thank you so much. So we start with the logical reasoning section today. We've done two lectures earlier. In those two lectures, what I told you, I'll kind of repeat with everyone, okay? So that you get the overall idea about what logical reasoning and critical reasoning is. At the same time, we'll also discuss the basics of logical reasoning today, because since CLAT is approaching, the standard advice to everyone would be that it is the best for everyone to revise and take things forward around. Okay. So the agenda, the itinerary of today would be we'll understand the basics of critical reasoning and logical reasoning once again. I'm sure you have done that. At the same time, what we'll do is we'll also look at a couple of interesting questions which will test your logical ability, critical reasoning ability to take it forward around. All right. With this note, I'll quickly start with my presentations and question rounds and a couple of things around to take it forward around. So let me set the tone correctly. Logical reasoning section is one of the most important sections while somebody appears for CLAT. A majority of people have problem in this section. The reason being the options are very pretty close to each other. Okay. Now, a piece of advice while you appear for logical reasoning section is that look at eliminating options instead of directly selecting the right answer, because normally in logical reasoning you'll find the passage length is smaller than reading comprehension passage. That is first. Second, apart from the fact that the passage length is smaller, it is also logically very inherently deep, right? You'll be tested on assumptions, you'll be tested on tones, you'll be tested on logical fallacies. So a couple of areas you'll be tested while you will be attempting logical reasoning section, which when you look at verbal ability section of that, you are normally tested on vocabulary, inferences, right? Okay. Main ideas tested in logical reasoning as well as verbal ability to talk about it. Okay. So when you have a logical reasoning section, be mentally prepared. The passage length will be smaller than verbal ability. One. Second, the nature of question will normally try to bring out the fallacy in assumption, right? So that is the area where we kind of put in us. Okay. One more thing which you need to understand in logical reasoning section is the structure of the argument has to be taken care of nicely, right? You need to understand the argument. You need to understand where the premise is. How is the premise leading to conclusion? Where is the assumption lying? So these things, as and when you read it, you should listen in mind so that you're able to solve. The mindset while we solve logical reasoning question will be very different to the mindset when we do with verbal ability questions. So these are two technically different things when we talk about. Okay. So let's look at the basic of logical reasoning and then we'll take it forward around. All right, just a sec. I'll open my presentation right in front of you. Okay. This is a small presentation which will actually give you a basic idea about what logical reasoning section is, right? And at times it is also called critical reasoning section. A couple of people call it logical reasoning section, but more or less it is the same thing. Okay, right. So once you see the screen in front of you, you'll find a blue written critical reasoning, logical reasoning, and summary based thing. Okay. So let's go one by one. Okay. First, very important thing. What do you understand by this word called critical? Critical means when you pass judgments about somebody, when you create judgment based out of your assumption, that is called critical, right? जब आप किसी के बारे में judgments बना लेते हैं, तो you basically are critical on that person. Okay? Do not confuse critic with critical. Right? If you're a critic of somebody, you find faults. Critical means you create judgments, and whenever you create judgments, you assume something, and that assumption is the area where normally सवाल questions उठते हैं. Okay? And of course, we apply logic also. That is the same reason we call it logical reasoning section as well. All right. Okay. Taking forward. Now, while these are theories to talk about it, the critical reasoning passages, right, normally test the higher level of your reasoning ability. Okay. They're almost reading comprehension. The difference is that RC passages are longer, logical reasoning passages are shorter. Okay. Now it is shorter. The meanings are very clear. Everything is in between the lines. Okay. Now, when we read critical reasoning arguments, we need to understand what comprise of the entire, argument. Argument has multiple parts. So we study premise, we study assumptions, we study conclusion, we study inferences, we study implication. Why do that? In हर चीज पे question है. You'll have question on this, you'll have question on assumption, you'll have question on conclusion, you'll have question on inferences, you'll have question on implication, you'll even have question on logic behind these statements, that is strengthening the arguments, weakening the arguments, couple of things, right? So the first basic thing is, let back to the complete revision. Premise hota kya hai? Premise is something that serves as the basis of an argument. किसी भी argument basis होता है, that is essentially premise to talk about it. Okay. Now, please make it very clearly whatever I'm talking about. Premise is basis of the argument. Okay. Right. Now, for example, let me write it up. Yeah. Okay. Now, when I say premise, understand it very clearly. A premise would always lead to conclusion. This is the theory we should understand, right? Okay. Premise हमेशा conclusion को lead करेगा. Okay. For example, hypothetically, let's say, okay, I say smoking affects lungs. Smoking affects heart. Okay. Smoking affects lungs. Smoking affects heart. Two statements. Third statement, smoking is injurious to health. So look at it, how it works. There are two basic statements. One, smoking affects lung. Second, smoking affects heart. Add these two, you conclude that it is injurious to health. So premise one is smoking affects lungs. Premise two is smoking affects heart. Add both in, you eventually conclude that smoking is injurious to health. So premise is leading to conclusion. Two premise leading to conclusion. It can be one premise leading to one conclusion, whatever you feel like. All right. So what we want to say is a premise would eventually lead to conclusion. That is what we're trying to say. All right. I hope you're till here. All right. Jaldi boliye. Just a sec. Let me rub it. Now, considering this fact, let's take it further. Now, after premise, what is the next thing we study? Conclusion. Conclusion is a derived commodity. Simple. Conclusion is a derived commodity. Premise leads to conclusion. That complete comprises an argument. Argument होता ही है जिसमें premise leads to conclusion. Argument is a data or a fact which is backed by reasoning. Okay. Now let's try to figure out what is the premise and what is the conclusion in some statement. So that will be very basic preliminary exercise. Trust me, while you do this, you'll realize that this is the best thing you do, wherein you look at the exercise of what is premise, what is conclusion, what is argument. Because when you do a logical reasoning section, you'll be quizzed on these areas only, that what is the premise, what is the argument, what is the conclusion and all, right? For example, look at this. Ramesh was talking during the class, so he did not understand the lecture, right? If you look at it, the fact that he did not understand the lecture is the conclusion, and Ramesh was talking during the class is the premise. The premise is leading to conclusion. क्योंकि वो बात कर रहा था, उसको lecture समझ में नहीं आया. Premises he was talking, conclusion is he did not understand the lecture. Hope you're clear with this. All right. Okay. So premise is leading to conclusion. Okay. Look at this. Sheila overslept, which caused her to be late in the college. Therefore, she ran all the way, causing her to be out of breath. Now, look at it. Somebody overslept, because of which that person was late for the college. So, overslept happens to be the premise. Okay. Late to the college happens to be the conclusion. Okay. Then she ran all the way. Again, that is a premise, which is leading to the fact that she is out of breath. So here we have two premise and two conclusion. All right. Remember it very clearly. It is premise to conclusion. Okay. Now, Sheila overslept, which because of which she was late. She ran all the way because she was out of breath. So this premise is leading to this conclusion. This premise is leading to this conclusion. All right. So the fundamental thought is a premise is leading to conclusion, right? And which you need to understand while you do logical reasoning section. Today I'm teaching the very basic, which I'm sure when you started a CLAT preparation is, you studied this. But trust me, before the exam, it is always good to go back to the basic, because this is exactly the point wherein we require all this. All right. Okay. So let's take it forward now. Sec. Let me rub it. Perfect. Let's do a few more questions. All right. Now, what is assumption? Normally, if you look at the structure of an argument, you'll find this way. A premise is leading to conclusion, and in between of these two, there is an assumption. All right. A premise would lead to conclusion and it will be backed by assumption. Interestingly, practically entire critical reasoning argument or logical reasoning argument, you will actually find that people quiz you on your assumptions only. Or okay, a premise is leading to conclusion and it is of course backed by assumption. Okay. Now, if you're clear with this, if you're completely clear with this thought, right? So let's understand what is the premise, what is assumption, and what is the conclusion. Can you tell me, guys? Just see through it. Can you please tell me? Just think over it, sleep over 20 seconds. All right, wonderful. Right, I got a couple of replies. Let's see what people think about it. Yeah, very good. Only scientists were meant to do well in the exam. Therefore, Martin failed the exam. So it is pretty clear Martin failed the exam is the conclusion. Okay. Now this is very clear that Martin failed the exam is the conclusion. Okay. Scientists were meant to do well in the exam is the premise. So scientists were meant to do well in the exam, which led to the fact that Martin failed. So I am assuming that Martin is not a scientist. All right. And this is exactly the point where the questions normally come. Okay. Let's go with the next question. So what is assumption? It is an unstated premise. It is an unstated because जो आप assume करो उसको mention थोड़ी करोगे यार, है ना? तो assumption is an unstated premise, right? जो mention नहीं होता है, okay, right? Now, what is inference? Inference is something which you derive conclusion. Please understand it, right? Conclusion does not depend on inference, but yes, inference does depend on conclusion. So premise leads to conclusion. Conclusion eventually leads to inferences at times, right? Okay. Inference is a again, it is a derived commodity. It is never given. Implication is never given. That is what we talk about it, right? Now, why am I talking all these things? I'm talking all these because we have questions on these to talk about, right? Let's look at this question and figure out which one is a premise, which one is a conclusion, and which one is an inference. Take 30 seconds to figure out. Take it quickly. Come on, go through it, guys. All right. Now, what is it? Sam couldn't make it to the party because he was not feeling well. Please understand, he was not feeling well. तुम्हारी तबीयत खराब है, ये premise है. तुम्हारी तबीयत खराब है, इसलिए तुम पार्टी में नहीं जा पाए. You're not feeling well, as a premise. You couldn't make it to the party. Is the conclusion? No. One, I'm not feeling well. Second, I couldn't make it to the party. So I'm assuming that one needs to be well to go to the party. Are we clear or not? Right? Okay. So when I'm saying I'm not feeling well, that's my premise. That is leading to the fact that I couldn't make it to the party. Very good. Now, the fact that I couldn't make it to the party makes me realize that I either wanted to go to the party or I was invited for the party. Right? Actually, right. So now we have a clear premise that Sam was not feeling well, which led to the fact that he couldn't go to the party. which made me assume that one needs to be well to go to the party. ये assumption होगा, right? On the basis of the fact that Sam couldn't make it to the party, I would infer that either he's invited for the party or he would want to go to the party. ध्यान रखना, there could be more than one inferences, could be more than one assumption. There can be hundreds of things like this, right? Ideation is premise leads to conclusion. In between, there is an assumption, and conclusion leads to inferences. That's the way we really kind of take it. That in theory is like this only. All right. Let's do one more question. All right. Just read it. Take 30 seconds. Come on, guys. Wonderful. I'll not tell you the answer. You'll tell me the answer, and then I will directly answer the question. Come on. Very nice. Good. Look at the answer. Those who were carrying umbrella did not get wet. Very good. Conclusion is Sita got completely wonderful. Assumption is she's not carrying the umbrella. Right. Now the inference is there was no other way to protect from rain. So she couldn't protect herself from rain. That is an inference. Premise leads to conclusion. In between them, there's an assumption. On the basis of a conclusion that she was drenched, you figured out that there was no other way she could have protected herself. Right? So inference is Sita could not protect herself from the rain. So now I'm sure you understood the idea of what is premise, what is conclusion, what is assumption, what is inference, right? Now, why did I tell you all these things? Trust me, while you saw logical reasoning section of CLAT, यही question आते हैं. In fact, in verbal ability also you get the same question. People will ask you, why is premise there? What is the conclusion? What is the inference, right? So these are the kind of questions you normally get it when you solve it. Okay. So you get these questions, right? Conclusion based question, assumption based. See this conclusion based questions, right? Okay. Assumption based question. You have arguments wherein you have to strengthen the argument or weaken the argument. All right. Okay. Look at these type of questions. Then you have inference type question, right? Wherein you have to derive the inferences, right? You have similar type question wherein you have to imitate the entire reasoning pattern, right? So, of course, there are many more types of questions, but we need to understand why are we studying this? Because we have to solve these type of questions, right? What? Conclusion based questions, assumption based question, strengthening the argument, weakening the argument, strengthening the assumption, weakening the assumption, inference, figure out inference, and similar reasoning type of question. So you need to understand all of them before you even think about getting into a logical reasoning thing. I'm sure you know it. It was very nearby, and you would have studied this also. The good part is that when we do it, we revise it, our accuracy goes higher. You're able to eliminate options better than others while we do this, right? Okay. So now let's practice whatever we studied in the form of basic stuff, in the form of, the questions. So we do a couple of questions now. Okay. So while we do a couple of questions, we'll see that how do we apply such things in this critical reasoning and logical reasoning question. We'll logical reasoning, right? Okay. We'll do a couple of questions right away. Okay. Just a sec. Let me take out the questions for you guys. Okay. I'll open a Word document in front of you, all of you. Okay. And with every question, I'll give you 1 minute to read out and answer the question. Okay. I'm sure you're able to wide screen in front of you. Okay. I'm making the screen a little bigger so that you all can read it comfortably. Okay. I'll make it 130, 140%. Okay. And we'll do a couple of questions now. Okay. The first type of question is summary or a main point question. Okay. Remember, the length of the question is smaller, but the idea is to teach you reasoning. Okay. Right. Once you understand, you'll be able to take it a little better and be very clear. While you solve logic and reasoning question, we are completely focused towards eliminating the option. Okay. Right. Now, I want you to read question number 1. Okay. Take about 1 minute or rather 1.5 minutes to go through it and we'll discuss it more. Right. Take 1.5 minutes or 1 minute. Come on. The moment you're done, everybody will write the answer in the live chat box. Let's see how many done. Come on. Quick, 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 quick. Come on. Increase the speed, please. Kindly increase the speed. All right. Let's see the answer now. Okay. That says when young students first look at modernist abstract painting, okay, their eyes are assailed by the seemingly meaningless mass of squiggles. Now, please understand where does it all come from? Modern paintings are painting जहाँ पे interpretation थोड़ा heavy, interpretation different होता है. They're not very clear painting. Abstract painting का मतलब होता है wherein the viewer, the observer creates meaning out of it. Okay. When you look at those modern abstract paintings, normally the abstract paintings are made by a lot of geometrical figures, right? Okay, ऐसा होता है. Whenever you look at those modern arts, आपको बहुत सारे, hexagon, triangles, couple of stuff will be, punched in, and you will see that. Okay, so when you see them, they are attacked by. Now, what is the attack? It is an element of sarcasm, I would say, right? Or rather, a satire, I would say. क्योंकि जिसको पेंटिंग की समझ नहीं है उसको लगेगा ये क्या अजीब सा बना हुआ है. तो दिस इज व्हाट यू थिंक द आईज आर असेल्ड. It is only after the study of history of art and the forces that led to abstraction you're able to understand the intellectual sophistication of modern art. मतलब क्या है, जब तुम इसकी थोड़ी अच्छी सी पढ़ाई कर लोगे, यू विल अंडरस्टैंड कि यार ये मॉडर्न आर्ट होता क्या है, तभी तुम इसको अप्रिशिएट कर पाओगे. फर्स्ट लाइन क्या लिखी है? Young kids when look at modernist abstract painting their eyes are attacked by these stuff. मतलब यंग बच्चा जब देखता है फिर कुछ समझ में नहीं आता, लेकिन जब वो अच्छे से पढ़ लेता है हिस्ट्री ऑफ आर्ट एंड द फोर्सेस व्हिच लेड टू इट, राइट, he somehow is able to appreciate the intellectual sophistication of modern art. So conclusion is, what is the conclusion? The conclusion is that a high school study of modern art should always begin with a study of history of art. So we have premise and we have conclusion that a high school study of modern art should always begin with a study of history of art. Ab mudda kya? What is the main point of the passage? Option number one. All right, let's start eliminating the option. Okay. Now, if we start eliminating the option, we'll understand what are we talking about it. Okay. First one, young students are unable to appreciate young students are unable to appreciate fully the complexity of modern art. It is not unable, they do not know about it. Right. And that is not the main point. They don't understand. That's it. They are unable. काबिलियत नहीं है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं लिखा है. Right. And understanding of a history of art is essential to understand modern art. हमें modern art नहीं समझना है. Understand very clearly. Please understand that. Okay. It's saying understanding of history of art is important to understand modern art. यहाँ पे what is missing? Painting is missing. Okay. Third, to understand abstract art, we did not speak about abstract art. We spoke about modern art. We spoke about abstract painting. Term is different. It's confusing, right? Abstract art नहीं पूछा था. Now, here is the answer. A high school study of modern art will have no relevance if the student lacks historical perspective. मतलब basically इसी पूरे paragraph का paraphrased version है option number 4. And that is the reason the main point is option number 4. Did everybody understand this? Can I have a quick answer in the chat box? Come on, make it interactive. Did you want it? Why not second? And why fourth? Because it is not modern art. You have to understand modernist abstract painting. All right. Great. Let's go with the next question, please. Okay. Just a second. We'll go with the next question quickly. Okay. Yeah. One more question, and then we change the type of question in front of you. Come on. Just solve this, please. The font is big enough. If you zoom it, you'll be able to read it. In the world of